YB stays on your neck.
It's on my neck.
Yo, my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So as you can see on your screen now, Andy, my speed, my movement, my combinations, Ruiz, his trainer, has come out and advised Anthony Joshua not to take the rematch. So let's break down what he said. In my opinion, if it's the direct rematch, it's better for us, said Robles. Andy already did 2 fights in a row. It was 15 weeks of work. If I was Joshua's coach, I would ask him to take a break, wait for a year, choose to fight with someone else, and do 1 or 2 fights before fighting with Ruiz. Now, the first thing I want to say is, people get twisted. People have been saying, oh yeah, AJ fought one of the worst Ruizes. Ruiz only had 5 weeks. Now, this kind of comment is what you call a casual comment. Many casuals, all they hear about is the 5 weeks notice and they ride with it. They think that they don't understand the full environment. But Robles patches this up for us. He tells us, listen, Andy Ruiz had a 15-week camp. The minute he finished fighting, the AJ rumours were already brewing. They were already about. So he was back to back. So he actually, never mind being fit, he was in the best shape in his life, like Robles just said. He had a 15-week camp. Ruiz has never had a 15-week camp. He was in tip-top shape, which tells me, going forward to the rematch in November, I'll be surprised if he has much more to bring. That said, don't get it twisted. I've got a good feeling that Ruiz is going to be like Canelo, i.e. he's not going to sit on his laurels and he's going to build from this win. So I do believe he will be better. I don't think he's going to be one of them people who takes more time off and kind of Mike Tyson effect where he starts buying into himself and believing the hype. I think at least if the fame's going to get to his head, it's not going to happen in 6 months. It's going to take beating Joshua again for any of that stuff to potentially happen. This next fight is going to be a better Andy Ruiz. However, that said, let's not get it twisted. Let's not make out Ruiz, this was a 5 weeks notice Ruiz. This was as fit as he's going to get. The next fight, psychologically, he may feel like the Don. But physically speaking, of course, you might find an extra 10%, but I don't believe that. Oh, it wasn't. He's just told you that. It wasn't a Ruiz who was half fit. Because if it was, that would be even more worrying, but I don't believe that's the case. Anyway, that's the first thing. Also, Ruiz is going to be match fit. Because, like he pointed out, he will have fought twice already this year, whereas Joshua has only fought once. So, but in reality, they've both come off of one fight. But Ruiz is going to be sharp. He's been punching. He had a lot of heavy bag work against Joshua. Ruiz had a lot of heavy bag work against Joshua. He was sharpening his blades, teeing off on AJ. So he's going to be sharp. However, that said, it's quite questionable. Can the brain and body really remember the shots it gave out 6 months ago? I doubt it, in that sense, yeah? The fact that Ruiz teed off on AJ 6 months before, I don't believe his hands are going to remember that. His brain will, his psychologically will, but that can work both ways. I.e., it can make him more confident, which means he balls forward and has no respect, which is highly likely in my opinion, because Ruiz is thinking at the moment, and a lot of the hype fans are saying this as well, Ruiz and a lot of other hype fans are saying, Joshua's chinless, Joshua can't take a shot, Joshua's slow, and from Ruiz's point of view, he's thinking, listen, and it's not even from Ruiz's point of view, from what we saw, Joshua could not take a shot that night. That's from what we observed. So Ruiz is going to be feeling nice, he's going to be thinking, you know what, I've got deadly power in my hands, I've got the touch of death in my hands. That's what he's going to be thinking, which is all well and good. Now don't get me wrong, if Ruiz comes into this rematch and touches Joshua, and Joshua does the stanky leg, expect a Mike Tyson versus Spinks kind of performance from Ruiz. That's what I'll be expecting. If one of the first punches Ruiz touches AJ with, AJ goes stanky leg, no doubt, Ruiz will finish him in the next few rounds, no doubt. However, you've got to think about the other side. When Mike Tyson hit Spinks and Spinks was falling all over the place, that got him gassed. That got him hard. Yeah? The prey, you could feel it, that boosts people up, made him more ferocious, made him quicker. However, the inverse of that is, which I think to be more likely, if AJ comes in at 240, if AJ comes in cardiovascular shape, where he's not running out of gas every 2 seconds, and Ruiz hits him, and AJ's catching and countering, or even if Ruiz hits him clean on the chin, and AJ's still standing there, no stanky leg, that can have an inverse effect. If you hit AJ and he goes stanky leg again, Ruiz is going to be rock hard, feeling so nice. However, if he hits AJ and AJ's standing there looking back at him, he's going to think, oh my gosh, I thought this was a chinless UK Don. And that can also, well, it can not also, that can break a man there. If he goes into this next fight for the next 6 months, building himself up, thinking AJ's chinless, and he gets in there, hits AJ with a 3-piece combo, clean on his chin, and he's still standing there looking back at him, talking shit to him, that can break a man. Or that can at least think, oh gosh, I'm in for a tough night of work. And it's almost like what people are saying about this AJ fight. And also the Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas fight. People say that, or people have said that when AJ went to fight Ruiz, he wasn't prepared for the type of fight. Boxing psychological. If you go into a fight and you haven't actually appreciated, a lot of great fighters, a lot of fighters talk about this. If you go into a fight, even Dave Allen said it. If you go into a fight thinking this is going to be easy work, and it isn't, that can make your fight 20,000 times harder. Yeah? Now, if you go into the same fight with a different mentality, it's completely different. When you're not expecting a hard night's work and it gets sprung upon you, it can completely catch you off guard, which is what people were saying happened to AJ. I'm not so sure about that, but either way, the same can happen to Ruiz, especially after that performance where literally everything AJ was being hit with, he was falling all over the place. Couldn't hold a shot. 0 shot resistance that night. So these are factors that can play to AJ's credit, inversed. But anyway, I've rambled there. Let's get to the point of this topic. If I was Joshua's coach, I would ask him to take a break, wait a year. Now, this is very tricky, to be honest. I can see both sides. But what I'm not confident in, there's so many unknowns here. We don't know. If there was something really wrong with Joshua, it makes sense why they're going straight into this rematch. If that was genuinely the best AJ, you've got to ask yourself, why are they going into this rematch so quick? And that also, on the conspiracy note, that kind of confirms things for me. There's no way they'd all be this confident if it was genuinely an average AJ or an alright AJ in there. The way they're jumping back in, I'm pretty sure it was within a few days they'd already agreed and decided to push forward with the rematch. That says to me there was something blatantly obvious to them. There wasn't a lot of head scratching going on after the fight. They all pretty much knew what was cracking, what went wrong. Whereas if there wasn't a big fundamental thing like a concussion, it should have taken them days or weeks to figure out, wait there, where have we gone wrong here? What do we need to put right? That was diabolical. The way they've jumped back into this rematch and have no doubts says to me there's something bigger going on. But we'll soon see. They've only got 6 months to wait. It won't take long. But anyway, back to the point of this video. Taking a break, and I've thought about this myself, but luckily 6 months, most fights, when they have rematches, it's normally 3-4 months later. But this 6 month business, what is it actually? Let's do it. He's got the whole of June, whole of July, whole of August, whole of September, whole of October. Yeah, so about 6 months or more, well, about 6 months on average they've got. That's a long time. It's a long time for the brain to recover from any injury. It's a long time to do loads of things in that time. So, in my opinion, if AJ has the right people around him and he's doing the right things, which by the way I'm not so sure he will be, but if he is doing the right things, there is plenty of time to get it right in 6 months. I'm going to do a video on this in its own right, but David Hayes said something really critical. He said, AJ, in these next 6 months, he needs to go away and bring in some really dog-eat-dog dudes. No head guard, small gloves on, and he needs to practice being under pressure. Have some wars in the gym. Have some true wars. Now, I think it's a smart idea. I mean, because that's the only way you're gonna sometimes in sparring you can be, it's not the top level, meaning no one's really going full out. It's almost like when you're sparring people, it's that comfortable level, that average level, which then when you can be thrown into a fight, like people say, it's a complete different ball game under the lights. So you almost need to recreate that for this particular fight. As an example, when he fought Klitschko, or when he fought Povetkin, or people like that, or Takam, AJ's the bigger man. He's able to set the pace. He's able to set the pace. He's the one looking to come forward. But when you're fighting someone like Tyson or Ruiz, they're setting the pace. They're coming straight at you. There's no time to build into it. There's no time to get your jab going. You need to step foot on that ring at 100 miles an hour. You can't play about. You've got to be on it. There's no warming up. As an example, the Klitschko fight. AJ had 4 rounds then to get used to Klitschko and feeling him out. There was no real fear or danger. You don't have 4 rounds in the Ruiz fight. You can't give up them first 4 rounds because you get knocked out, you get clipped and put down. Now that said, I think AJ on an average day wouldn't have been put down from them shots anyway. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe AJ gets clipped again and goes down and I'm wrong. I'll put my hands up. I'm not so sure. From what I've seen of AJ's chin, Klitschko fight, etc., etc., I don't believe Klitschko or Ruiz was hitting him any harder than Klitschko was. And Klitschko didn't have him falling all over the place. But we'll see. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. But so, as I say, time will tell. But in the meantime, he needs to bring some big, not even big dudes, just dudes who are going to replicate that kind of work, but not in a sparring setting. Closed doors, no cameras, and get to work. That's the only way you're going to be able to be prepared and understand the difference between sparring and that particular fight. Many other fights, like the Fury fight and even the Wilder fight to an extent, you're going to have time to build into it. It's all that feeling out stage. Ruiz, there was no feeling out stage, really. So that's that. I guess 6 months isn't that long, but it is actually, because think about all the spars you could do. Let's say he takes the next month off. You don't have to spar every day. You can spar twice a week. That's a lot of sessions, and especially if you're doing maybe not twice a week. You could do it once a week, a proper fight, not small gloves. Keep the big gloves on. Probably no headgear. Big gloves, no headgear, or maybe headgear, whatever. All I'm saying is you need to replicate in-fight simulation, in-fight being under pressure. Because one thing we do know, regardless of any concussion, factually speaking, I'm going to do a video on this as well, but when AJ's always had a problem with fighters who come forward. In the amateurs in 2011, he lost to a man called Mihai Nistor, and he fought just like Ruiz. Ducking, dodging, weaving, bobbing, the whole lot. And AJ couldn't deal with it. He gets flustered. And it's not a criticism, it's how it works. Especially with smaller versus taller dudes. Taller dudes, with a good guy who's got speed, can move his head and throws combinations, it puts everyone off. It does, it's simple as that. It puts everyone off. Unless you're used to standing in the pocket and being confident with catching and whatnot. And AJ's always got, what's the word? I guess a bit like a deer in headlights. In that, and this is why I don't rate Rob McCracken as well, because I'm going to show you lot. Then look at what you can type it in yourself now, but look at the AJ versus Mihai Nistor fight, or put in Anthony Joshua knocked out amateurs and it will come up. Yeah, AJ has a man bobbing and weaving coming towards him, and he's freezing up, deer in headlights, getting caught or whatever. Now in 2011, that's fine. We're now 8 years later, and he's got exactly more or less the same reactions. What's going on? What's in 8 years? How is he not prepared for this? Now you can say, oh well, he hasn't fought this kind of fighter before. Well, I'm not being funny. In 8 years, you're meant to be building a whole rounded fighter, especially when this is the reason. This is what I don't understand with trainers. When you're fighting these bums that you know AJ's going to knock over, in them easy fights you have, you're meant to spend that time building your fundamentals, building your foundations. Ready for these big fights. It's no good when you got all the easy fights sitting around doing the same things every day. They're the times when you're meant to build your skills you're not so good at. Prepare for the higher leagues. All right, you know what? We've got these next 6 months, or back in 2015 or 14 or whenever it was. We've got all these bums we're going to knock over for the next few years whilst you're coming out of the amateur game. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to start preparing in case you have to fight. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Bring different bodies in. I don't know, maybe they were doing that, but I just find it hard to believe. I don't think in the last 5 years AJ's been pro, 6 years he's been pro, I don't feel there's been that much of an increase, of a change. I can't see what skill sets he's really learned and built on in the last 6 years. And that comes down to Robert McCracken. But we're going to see. Maybe in 6 months' time, we'll soon know. If this Ruiz fight's going to tell all. If in the Ruiz fight, he gets hit again and freezes up and looks like he always does, we're going to know McCracken's no good. If he's not getting hit by Ruiz, or he looks really good under pressure, etc. If we see improvement from this Ruiz fight, then I'll give McCracken his credit. Let's just see. That's what it comes down to here. Can McCracken lead? Ultimately, 6 months is plenty of time if you know what you're doing. He doesn't need a year, because the bottom line is, that's what I said, if you can't get it right in 6 months, having a year off won't make no difference. You're either going to get it right in 6 months or you're not. Now, if it was 2 months, that's different. But 6 months and a year is exactly the same, if you know what you're doing. If you don't, it won't matter how, you can have 5 years off. But I've got a feeling AJ's going to be doing the same things he always does, but let's hope.